apparently we're live already. Hello, everyone. Just give us a second to confirm because I've never done this through the new stream service. Oh, yay, it's working. So hello, everyone. Welcome to another Genre Talk Associated read-along. I'm here with Nicki J. Markus, as always. And yay! I'm streaming again after the big death of, what do you call it? Hangout. Yeah, that. I wasn't pleased. I said I wasn't pleased. Hi, Dal. Thanks for being here. And before we dive into today's topic, Nicki, if you would like to introduce yourself real quick, that would be great.
Sure. For those who don't know me, my name is Nicki J. Markus. I'm an author and editor, and I post videos here on YouTube about writing, editing, reading, and all the other things I love. And I'm quite interested because I noticed that, unlike before, where whichever of us was talking was the one who was on the video, we're now both on the video all the time. So we can't have any sneaky little like messing arounds when the other person's talking anymore.
It's fine because you can still shut your camera off. So.
Oh yes, that's true.
It's good. Wait, look, I can play with this and how we're displayed, and we can go like this. Sorry, I'm just testing this on YouTube. It's my first time. I like to see what works better for everyone. So
there we go.
Okay, this also works. But I don't know. I think just for the two of us, the first thing worked better. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just.
There you go. That's what we ought to do.
I can show comments on the stream. This is so cool. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to appear on camera, it's good that you can just have your avatar. Also, if you don't have a camera running, it's kind of less stressful on your Wi-Fi and everything. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's okay. So, Nicki, would you like to tell us about the book you forced me to read? I'm kidding. I was a willing participant, but it's a fresh read for several reasons, and I have feelings and thoughts, and yeah.
Okay, so we are talking today about Vicious, which is the first book in the Villains series, and I'm going to call it a series because at the moment there's two books, but we do know that Schwab is writing or planning to write a third. So officially it's a duology at the moment, but with more coming. So Vicious is the first book, and it came out in 2013 originally. Now, I only really came to V. Schwab's work this year. She's one of those authors that's been on my radar for a few years, and I've always said, eventually I'll read something. And the first one that I ended up picking up was Vicious, and I absolutely loved it, which is why I strong-armed Alina into reading it for our book today. So the basic premise...
Before we get into the premise, maybe you should say that we picked this as our sort of urban fantasy paranormal read to pair with our genre talk discussions.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what we're discussing: paranormal, supernatural, that sort of thing. So yay! That's it. I'm done interrupting. Sorry.
That's okay. So the basic premise for those who haven't read the book yet is there are two college students, Eli and Victor, who are friends. And they have a theory that they develop on how to create EOs, which are extraordinary people. So people with basically superpowers or superhuman abilities. Yeah. However, when they try to put this into practice, things do go somewhat awry. And 10 years later, we come across Victor. That's my understatement of the year. We come across Victor 10 years later, escaping from jail and seeking out Eli, who's the former friend, now foe. And Eli has been on a mission of his own in the meantime, trying to eradicate EOs. So that is the basic premise of the story. So Alina, you said you have some feels on the book. So do you want to just give us your basic overview, what you thought first of all?
Yeah. This is not a friends to enemies story. This is two people who start pretending they were friends in the first place. It's like, I don't know. There are certain stories where you have these two male characters that kind of try to get each other's attention in some way. And at the end of the day, I'm like, you should have just, you know, had sex and gotten it over with. That would have saved the world a lot of trouble. Like seriously. And it's a great story, but it just makes me so annoyed. Like so annoyed. Times I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But I did appreciate it a lot. I did enjoy it. It's not a bad read in any way. I'm not mad at the book or the story or the writing. I'm kind of I have issues with the characters, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Who hurt you?
This is where you run off to Archive of Our Own, Alina, and you read all the fan fiction.
No, it's fine. I don't want to. Like, and this was exactly after yesterday. I saw the second part of the third Root in the Fate
Yes.
adaptation, and it's a movie in 3 parts, and you wait for years to get the next one. But a year, it's not that bad. And in that, I'm like, none of these choices are the right choices. Like, what's wrong with all these characters? And for those of you who don't know about Fate, there's a different love interest on each path, and I'm like, one of the love interests is so strong that it pretty much kind of steals the story in all the other paths when the main when the protagonist is with someone else. And I'm like, it's so clear. It's the best match ever. Why does this exist? It's so crazy and stupid, and it annoys me. So yeah, and after that, we get Victor and Eli, and I'm like, Victor was trying so hard to get Eli's attention, more than he ever tried with Angie. And I have feelings on that relationship as well, because I'm pretty sure he, other than observing her from a distance, he never did anything about how he felt, which speaks about the depth of feeling. And without getting spoilery, that was confirmed later on when he gained his superpowers, let's say. I was like, oh, yeah, I was right. You didn't care that much, Victor.
Interesting. You haven't read Vengeful yet, is that right?
No.
Because I don't think this is too spoilery to say, because in Vengeful, V. Schwab does definitely peg him as asexual, which doesn't really come in the first book, but she absolutely, that's what she pegs him as once we get into book 2. So
that's not the read I got on him, though.
Yeah, that I don't think that comes across in Vicious at all.
Yeah, I mean, based on what she said about him, I think it would be a stretch to peg him as asexual. I think he's just the type of person who is attracted to certain very clear qualities in a person.
Yeah, it's more about the characteristics, I think, of that person.
And
their
it's more
personality,
about intelligence and someone being interesting enough to hold his attention. I wouldn't peg him as completely as asexual at all.
I tend to agree.
I think if Eli was an actual love interest, he would have been very sexual. But that's just based on book 1. Like, I've not read anything else, so maybe I'm wrong. But just discussing the actual things that are in this book, I wouldn't have read him as asexual, although it kind of maybe demisexual. That would make sense with very clear triggers for what he finds interesting. Well, I mean, V. Schwab has been around for a while now. Vicious has been out for a while, so if she got things wrong, I don't know when Vengeful was published, but I don't think it's a very
that was
new
more
release.
recently. That was only like a year or 2 ago. There was quite a gap.
Still, it's a year or 2. So if she would have gotten that portrayal wrong, I think people would have said something about it by now. Because you get reactions fast. So I don't know. Do you think it's a good depiction in the next book?
I don't think you can say one way or the other, because it's just something that's kind of implied by a few things he thinks now and then. But I mean, his relationships in that kind of sense of the word are not the main focus of the story. So I don't think it's really pursued in any way that you could absolutely say it's a good portrayal or it's a bad portrayal of an asexual person. It's kind of almost not a throwaway comment, but it's just kind of something in the background that doesn't really impact the story or what's going on at all.
Which doesn't surprise me, given the kind of character Victor Vale is. I do like good villains, though. Well, it's not. I don't even know if he's a classic villain. I think it's a mix between a villain and an antagonist, because he's not an antagonist either. It's like, they're on the line, not sure where he falls. Like, is he a villain? Is he an antagonist? He's definitely very interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like most about this book, actually, the fact that it's not clear cut whether we're meant to be thinking that Eli's the hero or Victor's the hero. Both of them have sort of this moral grey area and an ambiguity.
No, sorry, Eli is definitely not the hero of the story. Like, there are no heroes in the stories.
And it's the idea of, is every villain convinced that he's the hero? Because Eli is absolutely, certainly in book 1 anyway, it does change a bit in book 2, but in book 1 he's definitely convinced that he is the hero.
Even though he's very like, I read him as very self-righteous, and he was like that, and very controlling, and he has a God complex, which for someone who believes in God is quite interesting. And for someone, I mean, Eli is an interesting character because you have this super intelligent person who plays God, basically, and then he believes in God and uses faith as a reason for what he does, which is, to me, it's an excuse he uses, because the choices he makes are more like, is this natural or unnatural, and is this useful or not? I mean, just based on the Sydney character and how he treated her, that's my read on it. Because I see her as a bit of his kryptonite. Sydney being his kryptonite in terms of what she could do for his enemies. And hey, she's unnatural, let's kill her. I don't know. That's my take. Mild spoilers, by the way. Mild spoilers. I think I should have said that. I don't think
it was a too bad one.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was. It's implied from the very start. So that's not it. Like, I guessed it from the first time she said the new boyfriend. I was like, oh, great. But I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about this book, other than, oh my God, this is so cool. Also, what's wrong with all these people? Who heard them? I mean, it's clear who heard them, sort of. I did really love the whole blacking out stuff in books thing.
Yes, I thought that was a really brilliant trait for him that worked so well.
And how dedicated he was. Like, he had all these majestic plans and things he wanted to do, but then he saw a book by his parents in a room and he takes the time to throw it out the window. That was brilliant.
I think some of those little idiosyncrasies of the characters are what really make them so three-dimensional in this book, because you kind of really feel that they're real people and they've got all these sort of random bizarre little flaws as well, not really like obvious things. And I mean, I guess we're talking genre talk today. So in terms of setting it in a genre, I mean, I know when we were discussing whether to read this one for this genre, we were sort of saying, well, in some ways, the sort of superhero side of things is often a bit more fantasy than urban fantasy paranormal. It kind of sits on that fence a bit. However, I think, I mean, for this one, I think because they don't get their powers from some sort of like extraterrestrial event, it's all science-based and everything takes place in cities. I think it's why we can.
I mean, I don't see them as superhero. I see them as superhuman. It's not even superhuman, because it's not even. It's not always the kind of power that makes you unstoppable. It's more like you have something that's supernatural,
Yes.
And it's played off as a give and take, as losing something to gain this power. And it's all very scientific, and certain conditions have to be met.
Yeah.
So I think it's more paranormal than fantasy and urban urban fantasy is still fantasy. It's just a subgenre and a different setting. But the city is the background, and like stage for everything that happens. I think that's closer to urban fantasy and paranormal than it will ever be to clear-cut fantasy.
Yes.
So, but I think it's also a good choice because it's not exactly within this genre. And I think the reason why this works so well is because it is V. Schwab, and it is a traditionally published book. I think the moment you just bend the genre, but it's kind of like, I don't even know it's that genre bending, because it kind of keeps to a lot of constraints of urban fantasy and adds a bit of a supernatural. So it's more like genre hopping than bending in any way. But I would like to point out that the cover is very, it's not what you generally see in urban fantasy or in paranormal, because this is not the typical book.
It's quite interesting because the original cover is really ugly. It's absolutely hideous. Have you seen it? It's got like a
I don't know which is the original one. I know there are
kind
two.
of got a drawing of like a figure seen from the back, looking out,
Let me see.
and it's really quite ugly and horrible. But I really like the newer version covers, which are quite stylized and minimalistic in a way, with all that blacking out and the just the silhouetted small figure.
Okay, so I think this is the original. I've had the one with the red background and the small figure on top of a pile of bones.
Oh yes, and then there's another one that's kind of a creamy white with black, and it's just got lots of like the writing kind of crossed out in like bone kind of shapes and things.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But yeah, they're quite interesting as far as covers go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the creamy one again. Yeah, there we go. I think I prefer the red one though. I think it's more evocative of the feeling of the book than the cream one, because there's the pile you need to climb, and it kind of looks a bit like a bit of an iceberg as well.
Yes.
And I think it's a better portrayal of how much depth you just discover in each character the further you delve into the story.
Yeah. So, and I think you'll be quite interested if you go on and read book 2, because I'm a Victor Vale fangirl.
Oh yeah, I know that. Sorry about that.
That's okay. But in the first book, I didn't really care that much about Eli in Vicious. But he gets a bit more of a chance to share his background in Vengeful, and that made him a lot more interesting for me. We get a bit more of a glimpse about why he is the way he is through the second book.
I kind of suspect it has to do with the religious nut of a father.
Yeah.
I do think so, but I think the thing that I like more about Victor that I don't necessarily like about the Eli character is the mask that Eli wears. I don't think Victor is very unapologetic for everything he is.
Yeah.
He tries to control certain emotions, but he doesn't wear like a different persona out in public.
Yes.
And he doesn't bend his personality to better fit other people at all.
No, definitely not to the extent Eli does. Yeah.
Not to say that he doesn't bend the truth or doesn't play on people's emotions and weaknesses, but I think if people would pay attention, they'd figure him out quite fast.
Yeah.
Eli, not so much. Like everyone who encounters Eli, they just see signs of it if they're paying attention. And when he finally acts like himself, I think there was a comment by Sydney when she says he finally felt like he was acting right for
Yes.
once.
Yeah.
Because I think he doesn't realize he's not doing a very good job. Or he's so used to people being very shallow in their scrutiny that he just doesn't put a lot of effort into it, or doesn't want to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in book 2, you'll see him develop that as he gradually works out how to play people and change his personality to fit what people want to see and expect and things. So it's quite interesting. So do you have favorite moments or things you liked best and didn't like as much in the book?
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, but I kind of really liked the whole the quirks. I liked a lot. I think they were a nice way of breaking you out of the story, but without breaking you out of it. Like I said before, when you throw a book out the window when you really don't have time for that, and that should be the last thing on your mind. That to me is brilliant. I don't know. I started the story, and when I started figuring out the premise, I figured it out early on that I didn't read the synopsis. By the way, I should say this: I did not read the synopsis of the book. Getting into it, I stayed away from everything.
Right.
So it was clear from the first pages that these two characters will become enemies, and it was like an implied triangle that wasn't really a triangle at all. It was just boys trying to one-up each other and keep each other's attention. And I was like, why do you need the buffer of the girl between you? I mean, you can do that on your own. It's fine. And I thought I wouldn't like it. And it's not a book I like. It's a book I enjoy. It's different. It's a book that draws me in, but it's not a story I like. It's not a story you fall in love with because of what happens in the story. You like it and you love it because of the intricacies it has. So it was a very strange reading experience. Very strange, because I was like, I shouldn't like this as much as I do.
And how did you feel about the structure? Because I think that worked really well. It was quite filmic in some ways, the way it kind of, we jumped back and forth in different times and places.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this actually, because I know people have issues when you switch between timelines. A lot of people complain about that. And I've seen it over and over again, even when it's clearly marked. I didn't mind it. I like the jump back and forth. And even if they did that, I think V. Schwab planned it really well, or her editors helped, I don't know. But it's done in a way that even if you go back in time and the action in the present kind of moves forward at points, because it's forward and then backwards and so on, the reveal of everything that's going on is very gradual. And I enjoyed that. But if you're not into jumping timelines, probably you won't enjoy it as much as I did. I couldn't say.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of thing doesn't tend to worry me. And in this case, I thought it was so clearly marked that you'd have to be someone who absolutely hates it just on principle. You know, it's not that you couldn't follow it. I think it worked quite well. And I mean, I definitely think it lends itself to that kind of film feel as well. I think it could work pretty well on screen.
Yes, but it will never be as good as the book.
It would never be as good as the book. No.
Not unless you have extensive narration, which is grating in a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's a bit cinematic at times. It feels cinematic.
Yeah.
Although I have to say the point of view is kind of confusing at times. Like, it kind of verges on omniscient a bit, but not. It just slips from limited to omniscient now and then. And I'm pretty sure it's a deliberate choice.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
But it takes some getting used to. And again, I know people have something against timelines and omniscient, and I don't care as long as it's a good story and it's well done. Hey Amber, thanks for joining us. So yeah. So tell me about your favorite moments or things you didn't enjoy.
Well, I do. I mean, as I just said, I do love Victor as a character. I think having read quite a few of V. Schwab's works now, I've pretty much nearly filled up, like done them all. This is probably my favourite of all the ones of hers I've read, and part of that is Victor Vale, because I think he is such a brilliant character. Yeah. I mean, one of the key moments that I like to quote randomly, and my husband laughs at, is like the Victor Vale is not a fucking psychic. In fact, I can hear my husband laughing from the next room. Like, I don't know if it came through on the feed, but
no.
I actually read this book twice, I should say, because I read it for myself, and then I ended up reading it to my husband at night, just a few chapters at a time in the evenings. We did Vicious and Vengeful. So I did him like his personal audiobook of the books. And yeah, I think there are just some absolutely brilliant lines, and he's definitely a character that really sticks with me. And all V. Schwab's works, I think the characters are what really make them. The stories are good, the premises are good, she has some good ideas. They sit well within the genre she picks, but for me, her great strength is character. And they're so memorable, her main characters in all the books.
Yes, I mean, I've not read anything. I know we were thinking about doing the other V. Schwab book at first, and I started that, but I didn't get too far into it to form an opinion. So this is my first actual deep dive into her style. So I can't make any claims about her work in general, but I think it's a bit of the kind of book that sticks with you because it's so conflicting. I still don't know what I think about these people. I just want to know what happens. That's fine. And I think there were poor choices done, but it's that sort of assumed mistake. It's mistakes made out of choices or strong emotions and not out of ignorance, which I find appealing, I guess. And I find them more appealing in people who are that intelligent, and they're all described as being highly intelligent. And then they have these strong emotions that kind of inform their choices. And it's a good reminder that we have way less control over our brain and emotions than we imagine we do. And the very logical part of it is just like on the surface. And that's why I said I like that it looks like a freaking iceberg, and on top of it someone stands, or a mountain, because you can see the tip, but everything that's behind it and under it is just huge and overpowering. So yeah, it's a very interesting read. Sorry about the lighting. It will go away at some point.
We've been talking about it being filmic. Do you have any thoughts on actors? If they did do a screen adaptation. In some ways, I think it's a real shame that we didn't have a screen adaptation about 15 years ago, because then you could have picked from all sorts of people like Michael Fassbender, Tom Hiddleston, Benedict Cumberbatch, but they're all too old now. I did think
I don't know if anyone young enough it could. I don't know. It depends on the script.
I had a couple of thoughts for Eli, like maybe someone like Tom Holland. I quite like to see him, the new Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No.
I'd quite like to see him do a slightly darker character, because he always plays that really sort of cute, sweet guy in most stuff.
I don't think I think he's cute and not handsome enough to portray him.
The other one I
think of someone like, when I think of Eli, I think of someone classically handsome, like the kind of masculine appeal that actually appeals to everyone.
Yeah. The other one
I don't know
sort
why.
of came to mind was Lucas Till, who you might know. Have you seen the newer X-Men films? He plays Alex Summers in like First Class.
I don't know. I don't remember. I've seen it, but I don't think I remember him. It's fine.
The only one I really kind of wondered for Victor was Ezra Miller, who's in Fantastic Beasts franchise.
Mhm.
But I just kind of feel like it's such a shame. Just 15 years ago, there would have been that huge pool of they would have been just the right age of awesome actors, and it's a little bit harder now, I think, to cast it.
Yeah, I think there's something going on with your camera because it's getting progressively blurrier.
Okay.
On my end.
Okay, I can see it on the like recording that it's gone blurry, but it's not looking blurry to me on.
It's not.
On mine.
Okay, cool. Because then probably it will sort itself out
on the if it doesn't
on the
replay. I'll
replay.
try turning it off for a second and on again. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's all good. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good.
But it was like I was trying to listen to you and look at you, and it was getting progressively blurry. And like a nice little shadow, which not entirely inappropriate for the book of discussing. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is the type of book where if you do a movie adaptation, it can lose a lot of the feeling and the depth if you keep it like as a movie, because a lot of this goes inside the characters' heads.
Yes, definitely.
So, and when you have a lot of narration in a movie, it's not that great. Like, it can be, but not really. And it's not as immersive. But that said, if you have a really good script and really good actors, which I think is a problem because you need relatively young actors to play college students, but come on, they use adults to play basically teenagers, so
yeah, I think Eli's the hardest in a way because he's got to look the same forever. With Victor, you could get away with someone who's that tiny bit older because he's going to be playing him in two different times.
Yeah, you can de-age them, and the technology for that works really well, and I think that's a better choice to just have older actors and de-age them for Victor by far. I think Eli is easier because his mask slips so easily. That can make up for a lot of things. Because I think Eli is a tough choice because of how he's supposed to look like. Because I think they both have a kind of magnetism, but I think Eli's looks kind of facilitate more of a shallower type of attention, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's why Angie went the direction she ended up going. Because there's a line in the book where Victor says they're complete opposites because she didn't take anything seriously and he couldn't not take everything extremely seriously. And I was like, oh yeah, everything makes sense now because I couldn't really understand why make that choice because Eli is interesting because you see things from Victor's perspective, but the surface Eli portrays is not interesting at all to me.
No.
So I couldn't really get the choice from someone who's obviously extremely smart. And then when he mentioned that, I was like, oh, now it makes all the sense in the world why I should go for Eli. I think it was because he seemed less challenging, where Victor wouldn't have been so easy to deal with.
I guess we've been talking about Victor and Eli predominantly. Perhaps we should just talk briefly about some of the lesser characters. Well, I mean, we've mentioned Angie a bit, but obviously we've got sort of Mitch, Sydney, and Serena are the sort of other trio of key figures. I actually really like Mitch. I think he's a great character, and I liked having him as that one. If I don't like to use the word normal, but you know what I mean, the one non-EO, we'll say, person who's observing and is kind of caught in the middle of everything that's going on.
He feels a lot like an anchor to me. But I think, like, at the moment they introduced Serena and Sydney, I thought the premise, the thesis, these two characters, Eli and Victor, started with was wrong, because the one factor that was missing from their thesis was a strong connection to someone else. Because clearly Eli and Victor have this game they play, and they're kind of pulled to each other a lot stronger than Angie is to any of them.
Yes.
And also Sydney and Serena have that very weird bond that they share. Very weird. So I think that was missing from their thesis, but it's interesting to see characters with such unique connections to each other and such conflicting feelings for one another.
Yeah.
But I do like Sydney.
Yeah, I find her quite cute. But we, again, like in book 2, you kind of see her develop a little bit more, which is good, because she's in some ways a little bit static in the first book, partly because she's kind of reliant on what's going on around her to an extent. But she kind of comes into her own a bit more, I think, in the second volume.
Yeah, but it bears mentioning she's 12.
Yes. Yeah.
She's a 12-year-old kid that went through hell.
Yeah.
Twice.
She's more of a sort of late teens twice as we get into book 2. So yeah, she's got that little bit more independence for action, I think.
Yeah, but I liked how well she can read people, even before all of this started. And because when you have a younger sibling worshiping their older sibling, it's usually through rose-colored glasses. And that's what I found very interesting about Sydney, because she always knew who her sister was from the very beginning, and she still idolized her. So I found it a very interesting choice to make. So yeah, I don't know, good cast of characters, like I rarely see in books.
And they do all stand out very much as individuals as well. And they're all pretty well developed, so that you don't feel any of them are just cardboard cutout secondary characters. They're all pretty well formed.
Yeah, they are indeed. And I'm trying to piece together my thoughts. Like I said, it's kind of fresh, and they have very I don't know, like I like character motivations for all their choices as well as they're depicted in the book, because Victor takes Sydney in, but he's honest with himself, knowing that when he revises his choices and tries to figure them out, and he says from the start that he felt she would be useful later.
Yeah.
It's not like he doesn't have this self-righteous, I'm going to save the world stance that Eli definitely has. And I think Sydney is aware it's not all out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah. He tells her multiple times that he's not a good person. He's very upfront about that with her.
I think he's wrong about that a bit. Because what makes you a good or bad person to the world around you is not how good or bad you are on the inside. It's the choices you make and the actions you take. And I think overall, at least in her case, for the most part, she's more than okay to see him as a good person.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like her character as much. It's because she sees people for exactly who they are, and she can still see the goodness in them, or the goodness in the actions they take and the results and consequences those generate. I guess. I don't know. I think I'm trying to formulate things as clearly as I can when my mind is kind of still jumbled. And I would like to say that for once, I wanted to give myself more time between reading the book and discussing it. And I was all set up to do that, but then things happened, a lot of things, and they completely ruined my plans. But I think, on the other hand, it's a nice contrast because you kind of always read days ahead of time. I think the only exception was the Dragon book, the Naomi Novik book, because I had read that like twice, and long before we decided to talk about them. I like having these visceral kind of discussions about books when they're fresh in my mind, but then I feel like the more I think about them, the more my feelings on them evolve. They don't change; they just, kind of evolve a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if I should thank you or kind of not talk to you for 2 days because you can be reading.
Well, you have to go on and read Vengeful now and then see how you feel like after that one.
I think I need a break. I need something like a lot fluffier in between these books. I have a feeling. I just have a feeling.
Fluffy? What are you talking about?
What? I'm sorry, what now?
Fluffy? What are you talking about?
Sure, Nicki, let's go with Victor being fluffy. Yeah, sure, the fluffiest characters I've ever seen. And this entire story is full of fluff. Like all the fluff in the world. You've never seen fluff like this. Oh, come on. I can't keep that going. Sorry. I'm on my second cup of coffee and I still can't keep that up. Like, yeah, he's a teddy bear. He's a giant teddy bear. That's what he is.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, sure. If that's true, I'm freezing out here. It's not that it's too hot to think. I'm freezing, and Victor Vale's a teddy bear.
We should get a T-shirt made up.
No. Because then, I mean, out of context, people might think we're actually crazy. But yeah, very interesting read. Very interesting. Which is, I mean, I have to say, I appreciate that about the book. If it's something I kind of keep thinking about, and it keeps dragging me in and making me think about it long after I finished reading. I think this is done in a very interesting way. And less reminiscent of a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah, it feels kind of fresh and new and not just a rehash of something we've seen a million times before.
Yeah. Which is
I
great.
think that's all.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of all covered all the points I wrote down. Is there anything you wanted to say to sum up at all, Alina?
No, I think I've expressed everything I felt.
And I think I've been very subdued in my Victor Vale like fangirling. So
I mean, yes, but you've been doing it for how long? And fangirling over him?
Oh, when did I first read it? A few months ago.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You can fangirl more over him and the wrap up is fine. I think it helps. He's definitely my favorite in the book.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, he's my favorite, and also I'm like, what were you thinking, Angie? It's like someone offering you like gold and copper, and you pick copper. Why? I mean, I know why, because it's easier and less challenging, or you thought it was.
I have to say, ever since reading Vicious, of course, now whenever I see a Sharpie, my first thought is Victor Vale. It's just like they ought to like have him advertising Sharpies or something. And I think that's quite well.
Definitely.
So I guess
yeah, and I was thinking, I wanted to say that the best thing about this is that one of his teachers, his professors at university, actually thinks it's a form of art, and Victor helps him along to that conclusion. So then he gets to do this trashing action and get credit for it, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. That was like the best thing ever. Here, be passive aggressive about how your parents screwed you up and get credit for it at university. That's the best thing I've ever seen. So yeah. Okay, so should we talk about when the next one is happening? Because otherwise I think we'll be here forever talking about Victor and Eli and this book.
So I think we've decided our next read we'll be doing classics as a genre.
Yep, classics.
And we're going to be doing Novella. Let's Go.
Mm-hmm. I've already mentioned this in a video.
Yes, by Prevost. So this is going to be interesting actually, because I have read it, but probably 10 to 15 years ago, probably closer to 15. So I shall have to refresh my memory and bring it out again before we do our talk. And I think you're reading it for the first time, is that right?
Yes, I've been meaning to read it since I read Dumas the Sun, which was in high school or university. So it's been a long time since I wanted to read this book. And like I mentioned in my Q&A, because I was answering your question actually, it's the one classic my boyfriend raves about, and he doesn't care for classics a lot, so I really want to read it. It's quite appealing to me. And for anyone who wants to read along with us, this will be our November read along. Manon Lescaut is available on Project Gutenberg. I'll try to find a link. It's public domain by now, so if you want to read along, please do. We'll have a nice little conversation going on after that. And for next month, we'll have our genre talk live stream on Nicki's channel. And we're doing translations, right?
Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about translations. So you'll hear Alina and I rant considerably, probably, about bad translations.
Yes. I have a few thoughts. Let's say I was angry enough at some point that I sent a letter to a publishing house. It's a big publishing house here in Romania because their translation was that awful.
So you won't want to miss that. You'll see us all get angry on YouTube for an hour.
It would be interesting. And I think it would be interesting to talk about it from an author's perspective, especially since I've got a lot of questions about why I don't translate my books into Romanian, for example. So it would be an interesting conversation to have, and also within the genre talk area of conversation to talk about what changes from one translation to another in terms of what's expected, because some things are quite different. So that should be interesting. Also, go check out my Q&A because I touched on.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I shall do.
Yeah, I have a couple of your videos, or just one. I don't know. It's your new reads that I haven't watched yet, so I kind of want to, because I was super busy and I was like, no, I want to have proper time for these, because usually I add like half of them to my CD read file. So would you like to tell people what you've been up to and what you have planned in the future before we wrap up?
Sure. Not masses at the moment, I have to say. I've been doing some new work and had some editing jobs in, which has kept me pretty busy, really, for the last few weeks. Plus a few other events like going to Hugh Jackman's concert. And between one thing and another, really, for the last few weeks, I've not gotten much writing done, which is a bit of a pain. I do have my Christmas story coming out from Dream Spinner, so we've been editing that. We just finished the galley. So that's all done, apart from my sort of social media image creation and all those little bits and pieces. I did have an idea for another story, which is just what I need, and I've already got 3 on the go.
Yeah.
So there will be stuff happening. It's just been very slow, and the same thing for getting started with self-pubbing some of my old titles that you've doubtless heard Alina and I discussed before. It's still like in progress, but I just haven't had a chance to do much on it yet. But I'm hoping that as we now move into September, I'll be able to start to look at that a bit more seriously. So yeah, I've been busy reading. Started learning Japanese 4 weeks ago. So that's just another thing to take up my time. And I'm doing an anatomy MOOC as well. That's been going on. There's like 4 parts to it. I'm in the last part now. And so that's been
nice.
Full on as well. I figure if I'm going to stab characters and that, I might as know where I need to stab them and things. So I thought it could be handy. So yeah, so all those things have been keeping me busy, and I've not been doing a huge amount. I've been obsessing over Death Note, and that's about it. What about you?
Well, I have a few choiceful words about human anatomy. You know, I'm still stuck in the Book of 100.
Yes.
Which is a lie. I'm halfway through and I drew like 170 so far.
Oh, well done.
So I hate you all who lied to me that this was a 100 handbook. So that's the author and the editor and the publisher and everyone who's to blame. I've recently released my second mystery, which is it's Murder on the Catwalk, and it's been doing fairly well, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm working on the 3rd book in the series at the moment, which is called Don't Leave Me Baby One More Time. Yes. Because I'm keeping the theme of taking lyrics or titles from songs and then just playing around with them. And I'm editing my cozies. I have a prequel written and the first book in that series, and I've edited the prequel, and now it's with Mike. And then I'm working on a proof, a read aloud edit actually, because it's not exactly a proof for the first cozy, and I don't completely hate them at this point, but I think people will be slightly confused by the prequel and how it starts, because it's an elevator conversation between 2 cosplayers trying to explain the fake universe to normal people. It doesn't go very well. It's fun. I loved it. It's less in-your-face anime related in the first cozy, and that's a choice. I mean, there are still anime collectibles and too much money spent on it. But t-shirts that claim anime is trash and so am I and stuff like that, because but because she moves back home and she's required to kind of keep certain aspects under wraps while she works, it's kind of toned down, and it will hit people right back in future books. But it's been enjoyable to not hate a book that much when I'm editing it. I'll get there eventually when they're both away from me and being edited by someone else, and I'll go crazy. It's fine. I always do that. And I failed Vida also. That's what I've been doing. But I did way better than I thought I would. So
you made a good start.
14 days. After the whole thing with YouTube taking down my video and wasting like half a day to get it back, I kind of lost steam. But I did release a almost an hour-long video recently, and that was quite the effort. And there will be more videos coming up. If you've watched the Q&A video, you know that. So yeah. We'll see how everything goes. I'm not sure when and if I'm returning to live write-ins outside of NaNoWriMo, but we shall see. I'll try my best to keep things interesting on the channel, though. So, yeah. thanks for sticking around for this stream and all the streams and everything we do on our channels. And go check out Nicki's channel and give her lots of likes and to subscribe, because you definitely should. So yeah, that's it. Anything else to add, Nicki, before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. As we said, we're on my channel for the next one. As long as I can sort out working the live stream. Now Hangouts is gone. I'll have to have a play around first.
Like StreamYard is easy for now. Like,
okay, awesome.
I've tried this for the first time without any preparation, and it worked well. So I can guarantee you'll do well. So it's fine.
Awesome. So we will see you all again then.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Bye. For now.